Let's begin by offering our respects to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानु सुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। प्लीज रिपीट आफ्टर मी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay, so we welcome all of you to our weekly Bhagavad Gita classes. We have here with us Dipti Adnani. Welcome back, Dipti.
Thank you.
Then we have Lavina, Auntie Neeta, Ayush, Deepa, Harman Bakshani. Then iPhone 6. I don't know who's iPhone 6. Then we have Jagrati, Lal and Mehak Melwani, Manju, Meena Barwani, Mehak Bakshani. We have NC Venkatchari, Rajiv Kumar. My parents are there. Then we have Ranjit Das, Ritu Lalwani, Saket, Sandra, Vivansh, Vrinda Gopika Mataji. Oh, and we have Meenakshi and Vivansh. Okay. So what did we see in the previous class?
About the Guna.
Okay, the Guna.
Is a group. Guna is a group.
Okay. How many gunas are there? Or modes of material nature?
8.
How many? Modes of material nature. How many modes of material nature? How
3.
many gunas?
3.
3. What are they?
Sadogun, Rajogun, Tamogun.
Okay, very nice. What else did we see? Krishna said that he is a source of everything material and spiritual. So what belongs to Krishna's material energy? Or what? Sorry, not material energy, but what belongs to Krishna's external energy? External energy.
Yeah. ये करना है, change this.
What are the material elements?
Air, water, fire, ether.
Yes, very nice. The gross elements and then also the subtle elements. What are the 3 subtle elements?
Mind, intelligence, and false ego.
Yes, mind, intelligence, and false ego. So Krishna first says that he is a source of material energy, and then he says he's also the source of spiritual energy. So we living entities, we belong to Krishna's superior energy or inferior energy, external energy, internal energy. Superior or inferior? We living entities, the jivas.
Superior.
Superior energy. But then when we are here, we are dominated by the material energy. So see, the superior energy is being dominated by the inferior energy. What is the reason for that? We saw in the previous class. Because of our...
In the material world,
What's that, Vivansh? Can you come again?
because it was in the material world.
What is in the
Sure.
material?
Us,
Yes, because we are associated, because of our deep association with matter for so long, because we identify ourselves with material nature. Therefore, although we belong to Krishna's superior energy, we are coming under the dominance of Krishna's inferior energy. So how can we reverse this condition? Again,
by going to the spiritual world.
no. Before going to the spiritual world itself, we have to reverse this condition. If we don't reverse the condition, then we remain in the material world. So how to reverse the condition to be able to go to the spiritual world?
Say Krishna's holy name or surrender unto him.
Yes, by surrendering to Krishna. So when we surrender to the Lord, then we can reverse this condition again. Very nice, Vivansh. Okay. So what analogy does Krishna give to say that there is no truth superior to me? Everything rests on me as... Who can fill in the blanks? He gives an analogy. We said that the power of the visible is only an iota of the power of the invisible. So what was that analogy that Krishna gives? Everything rests on me just as how pearls are strung on a thread. Yes. So the invisible element in that necklace, in the pearl necklace, is the thread. If that thread is not there, then these pearls are not going to be held together. So Krishna says that he is that invisible thread. No, we may not be able to, we may not be yet qualified to see him face to face. But just because everything is existing, we know that that connecting link, the one that's holding everything together, is Krishna. Because Krishna says that he's the one who destroys, he's the one who maintains, and he's the one who creates. Just as another example we can give is food. You may have a table full of very delicious preparations. Yes. But what is the one element that is invisible and makes everything actually delicious is salt. If that salt is missing in all those preparations, then everything is going to be tasteless. So salt is something that costs. It's not a
Yes,
commodity that is very expensive. Yes, it is very easily, readily available. You cannot see it in the food, and you don't appreciate it unless it is absent in the food, isn't it? We take it for granted. So bhakti is something that is very accessible to us. It's not cheap, it is very precious, but it is something that can be easily done. Anybody, anywhere, anytime, under any circumstances can practice bhakti. So bhakti is that element, that strong element. So Krishna says that he's that he's that uh, it's he is that power or that potency that is keeping everything together, and sometimes we may tend to take it for granted. Okay. Then Krishna said that he is the essence of everything. Can you give some of the examples? We saw many examples. Can you mention a few examples of how he says he's the essence of so many things? For example, he said he's the taste in water. Can you give more? Can you add more to the list? Anybody? You can refer to the notes. You can refer to your Veda base.
He says, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun, and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras, and I am the sound in ether and ability in men.
Yes, very nice. More?
I am the taste of water, the juice to the vegetables. The moonlight gives the juice to the vegetables. Even the syllable Om is none other than Krishna.
Yes, very nice. Any more? Anybody wants to add to the list?
The light of moon.
Yeah, that's already done. Next. After that.
Om is created by inside of Krishna and it's non-different from Krishna.
Okay. So Om also we've already covered. More essences, I'm saying. Okay, can you go to vedaves.io, chapter number 7, verse number 9?
I am the original fragrance of the earth.
He is the original fragrance of the earth. Yes,
And I heat
Prabhu,
in fire.
he is Lion Garuda, he's written in the chat, but that is not what we saw in chapter 7. That comes later. But yes, the
This
answer
is-
is
He is the heat in the fire. And
heat
the
in the
life
fire.
I am the life of all that lives, and I am the penance of all ascetics.
Yes. Then verse 10. What does he say?
All power. He is omnipotent, all powerful, present everywhere. He knows everything, present, past,
Yes.
and future.
Yes.
And He is in our lives. We can change our. When we bring Krishna in our lives, we can change our karmas also.
Yes. Bhakti is the game changer. So there is no way we can change our karma unless and until we surrender to Krishna, because Krishna can rewrite the rules of the game. Otherwise, we are only going to be under the law of nature and under the karmic cycle. So the game changer is Krishna. Okay, then in verse 10, what does he say?
He says he is
In
the
what
original seeds of all existence
Yes.
and the
intelligence of the intelligence and the prowess of the powerful man.
Okay. Then in verse 11, what does he say, Lavina?
He is the strength of the strong and devoid of the passion and desire. And he says he's the sex life, which is not contrary to the religious principles also.
Yes, exactly. Nice.
All states of
Vivansh, you're muted. Were you saying
all
something?
states of beings.
What's that?
All states of beings.
Okay. So is Krishna Nirgun Nirakar? Is God Nirgun Nirakar?
He is Nirgun.
Yes and no.
Yes.
He is Nirguna, he is Nirakara.
Yeah.
So he does not have a form, but he does not have a material
Material.
form. He has a spiritual
Spiritual
form.
form.
Yeah, he is Nirgun. He is without qualities, but he is without material qualities, but he does have spiritual qualities. Now, if somebody argues that you are limiting God by saying that he has a form, how do we answer that question?
Sorry,
Yes.
can I didn't get the question.
If somebody argues, let's say we are telling people that God has a form, and the person says no, but if you say that God has a form, you are limiting that person to that form. But actually, God is limitless, formless. So, how do we answer? How do we counter argue? How can we counteract that argument?
Mhm.
How can we counteract that argument? We discussed this in the previous class.
Yeah.
Mataji, what is the question?
If somebody is to tell us that when you say that God has a form, then you're limiting God. But God cannot be limited. How are we going to counter argue?
God is limitless and he has some sort of some numbers of opulences.
Yeah, so the person is saying that yes, God is limitless. So then how can you say that God has a form? Because when you say that God has a form, the person is arguing that when you say that he has a form, then you're limiting God. You're putting a limit there. But when you say God is formless, then he is Ananta. This is what the person is arguing.
And we just show them Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. And
But
it's written there, and the Vedas and the Shastras. And then we show
yeah.
them the Prabhupada's voice. So
Yeah, but you're in a conversation. Are you going to sit and read the entire Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and all the Shastras of the person? In a conversation, what are you going to say immediately?
okay, Mataji, some clue?
Okay, let's wait for somebody else. If somebody else can, because we have already explained this in the previous class. Can anybody recall, or can anybody go through the slides? We have shared the slides in the group also. It's there.
Mataji, if we can say, telling them that we can reciprocate a person having a two-handed form. So we can tell them that we can see God, Krishna or God comes in the form of two-handed form, so that we are able to reciprocate. But he's not an ordinary human being. He brings all the spiritual powers and comes. So it is easy to reciprocate that way.
Okay, very nice. Okay, full marks, Neha. So yes, we can reciprocate with the Lord, because even when we see the Murti and we serve the Murti, we develop attachment to the Murti, and the Lord reciprocates even through the deity. I was just reading, okay, we'll come to that pastime later. There is a temple in South India where the deity was reciprocating. We will discuss that later. But okay, yes, the deity, or when the Lord comes, appears, he can reciprocate. But when he's only the light, or he's Ananta, he's situated everywhere, then the reciprocation or the intimacy relationship can be more challenging. Okay, very nice. But what did we see in the previous class? This was not something that we discussed in the previous class, but of course the answer is correct. But what did we say in the previous class? What is it that limits? Does form limit the Lord? Does form limit anyone? What is it? What
Yes,
is
yes.
the criteria?
Our
What is
our
that
form,
limits?
our form is limited, but Krishna's form is not limited.
No, but the
But-
point is, what is it that brings limits? Is it the form or something else? What is the criteria for limitation?
Something else?
Matter.
It's the matter. Very nice, Ayush. So what limits is that which is material. Anything that is material comes with limitations, but anything that's spiritual has no limitations. So therefore, when the Lord appears, he is completely spiritual. So you cannot say that you can limit him, even though he appears, in the form of a human being, but still his body is completely spiritual. So because his body is completely spiritual, you cannot limit him. He is limitless. Okay, so that which limits is not the form. The criteria for limitation is whether it is material or it is spiritual. Now, our body is material or spiritual?
Material.
Our body
Material.
is material. So therefore, when death occurs, what happens to the body? It is either burnt or buried or given to wild animals to be eaten, isn't it? Some communities, Parsi communities, they put the body open for. So anyway, every community has a certain way of disposing the body because it's just a dead body. Our body is not spiritual. So therefore, our body has limitation. But Krishna's body is completely spiritual. So you cannot say that you are limiting him by giving him a form, or he is or not giving. We don't give him a form, but he comes comes like an ordinary human being. Like an ordinary human being, he is not an ordinary human being. So although he comes like an ordinary human being, it appears that way. He is completely spiritual. His body is completely spiritual. So you cannot limit him. When Krishna showed the Virat Roop, to Arjuna on the right there on the battlefield. So where is the limitation? He had the 200 form, right? Or he has a chariot driver, and then he has showed him the thousands and thousands of arms, heads, eyes, nose, so many. And wherever Arjuna was seeing, he was only seeing the universal form. He was only seeing that Virat Roop. Arjuna was not able to see the sky anywhere. Wherever Arjuna was turning, he was only seeing the universal form. So what limits is matter. It's not the form. So this is how we are going to counter argue if somebody comes up with this argument.
In the notes, it says omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. All powerful, present everywhere, knows everything.
Yes, that was from a previous shloka. See, this is the slide that we saw. Do personality, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
There's just
No,
a
there is
cover
no
on the
screen.
No, Mataji, no.
Screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to show one second. Okay, now yes.
Yes, Mataji.
So this is the slide that we saw. Vedic wisdom helps us understand that what causes limitation is not form but matter. What pastime is this in the photo?
When Krishna becomes like when he becomes like all the gwalas, all the gopgan, when he took the forms, when his thing got stolen,
Yes, very
his
nice.
cows and his cow
Very
both.
good. Yes. So Krishna stole, who stole the calves and the gopas, the cow
Brahmaji.
herd?
Brahma.
Indra.
Lord
Indra.
Brahma.
Indra.
No, not
Lord
Indra.
Indra.
Lord Brahma stole
Lord
them.
Indra.
This Leela is called Brahma Vimohana Leela, where Lord Brahma was completely bewildered. Why? Because, see, this pastime happened immediately after the killing of Aghasura. When Krishna was 5 years old, he killed Aghasura. And then Lord Brahma said, Aghasura, this very powerful demon, because Aghasura was 8 miles long. And when he opened his mouth, it was like a huge mountain. His body was big, like a mountain, right? When he opened his mouth, it appeared like there is a huge mountain. And the Gopas, they thought that his tongue was a road. And they all entered. They thought they are entering a cave, but they were entering Aghasura's mouth. And then in order to protect the Gopas, Krishna went inside Aghasura and he ripped him apart internally, right? And then all the Gopas were freed. So when this pastime happened, Brahma was thinking that this small little boy, is he really the supreme personality of Godhead? Just this 5-year-old boy, he has killed Aghasura. So Brahma said, let me play a trick. So he kidnapped the calves and the Gopa friends, all these Gopas of Krishna. So what did Krishna do? He expanded into each of those Gopa friends, into each of those calves, so that the mothers of those Gopa friends and the cows don't have to feel separation from their children. So Krishna expanded into each one of them. And for one whole year, Brahma has these Gopas and the calves stolen. And then Brahma comes back to see what's going on, because Krishna has not, nothing has, he's just kidnapped them. What's going on? So then Brahma comes to see, and then Krishna, he sees in each of these Gopa friends that each of these Gopas and calves are actually expansions of Krishna. You can see in this photo. So Brahma was completely bewildered. And this is called as the Brahma Vimohana Leela. So Krishna actually during this pastime, when Brahma stole the calves and the cowherd boys, Krishna was only 5 years old. So you can see how, so you cannot say that because Krishna is a 5-year-old boy, he is limited. He has limited strength or he cannot expand himself. No, he is also unlimited. Okay. So we'll start today's class. Section 3. Krishna controls the modes. So surrender. This is the subtitle. Who can read today?
Mataji, can I read?
Yes, Shri Hari Radha Mataji. Let's hear the shloka.
त्रिभिर्गुणमयैर्भावैर् येभिः सर्वमिदं जगत् मोहितं नाभिजानाति मामेभ्यः परमव्ययम्.
Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance. The whole world does not know me, who am alone above the modes of inexhaustible. Hare Krishna.
So in the previous section, Krishna was talking about how he is the essence of everything. So one may say, okay, if he is the essence of everything, then why is it that people do not surrender to Krishna? So what is the reason that people do not surrender? Krishna says, because they are deluded by the three modes, because they are under the influence of the three modes of material nature, under the influence of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Because of that, the whole world does not know me. So the reason why people do not surrender to Krishna, although he is the essence of everything, he is the source of everything, is because we are under the influence of the modes of material nature. And then Krishna goes on to say that he is above the modes. So Krishna is above the modes of material nature. He is not within the modes of material nature. And this is the reason why Krishna does not have to follow the rules and regulations that we have to follow. Therefore, people say that, oh, Krishna, people have a problem. Krishna has so many gopis. Why is he dancing with the gopis? Why does Krishna marry 16,108 wives? Why is Krishna instigating war? They will say. Why did Krishna instigate Arjuna to fight the war and cause the death of so many people? Some people say Krishna is a failed politician. They even say he's a failed politician because he failed to prevent the war. So these statements are coming because people are under the modes of material nature. They do not understand Krishna. Krishna is above the modes. He can do what he wants. He writes the rules of the game. Okay, so he does not have to follow the rules and regulations. He's above the modes. And then he says he's inexhaustible. He is avyayam. See, this quote from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya is speaking to Sanatana Goswami. Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. So Krishna is the origin of Lord Vishnu. It's not vice versa. He should always be remembered and never be forgotten at any time. All the rules and prohibitions mentioned in the Shastras should be the servants of these two principles. So, in our Shastras, there are so many rules and regulations, yes, but there are two rules and regulations which is of whom all the other rules and regulations are servants. What is that? Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Everything is encapsulated in these two instructions. Lord Chaitanya is saying this to Sanatan Goswami.
दैवीह्येषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मामेव ये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते.
This divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Hare Krishna.
See here, first time Krishna's talk about surrender. If you see in the Bhagavad Gita, first time he's talk about surrendering unto him. Now, Krishna is saying this divine energy of mind, these three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. See, he says, Mama Maya Duratyaya. It's very, very hard, very difficult to overcome. We cannot overcome the modes of material nature by our own endeavor. So therefore, now what is the solution? How can we actually do it? Those who surrender unto me can easily cross beyond it. So when we surrender to Krishna, mission impossible becomes possible. Because again, Krishna is the game changer. So the way by which we can overcome the modes of material nature is by surrendering to Krishna. What is the best way to surrender?
The best way to surrender is never to forget Krishna and always remember Krishna, two principles.
So how can we do that?
By chanting his
By
name.
chanting.
By chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the most potent mantra. That's why it's called as the Maha Mantra. Man means mind, tra means to liberate. So when we chant the holy name, automatically we are remembering Krishna and we don't forget Krishna. The stage will come as you chant every day, day in and day out, 16 rounds. The stage will come when, even when you are not verbally chanting, probably you're doing something else, you're cooking or you're helping your children with your studies, whatever it is going on in your subconscious mind, it is continuously going on, right? So that way you will never forget Krishna and you will always remember Krishna. Just as how when we listen to a Bollywood song too many times, then that song keeps playing in our mind. Yes, that I'm sure that has happened to most of us. So when we chant, instead of listening to material sound vibration, instead when we chant and we put the spiritual sound vibration in our ears, then that keeps on playing in our mind. So that way we never forget Krishna and we always remember Krishna. So the best way to surrender is to chant the holy name. So the way to overcome, so Krishna is presenting the problem. He's saying, yes, the problem is this, you cannot overcome. It is very, very difficult. Mama Maya Duratyaya. But how to solve this problem? He's also giving us the solution. By surrendering, we can very easily. So that which is so difficult can be very easily done by surrendering to Krishna. See, Krishna says, Daivihi Esha Gunamai. So here you can see the three modes of material nature, and everybody is under the influence of the three modes of material nature. But Krishna is above the three modes. So when we surrender to Krishna, then these modes are not going to trouble us. So this is one universe. We have discussed how there are millions of universes that are being generated by the breathing of Mahavishnu. So who is the superintendent of this material world? Superintendent in charge.
Krishna.
Oh, Vishnu.
Durga, Ma Durga.
Yes,
Yeah.
Durga. Yes, she is the superintendent of the material world. So she is not going to allow you to leave her domain so easily, not so fast, not so easy. When we are qualified, then she will allow you to leave her domain. Durg means fort. So a fort is heavily guarded by the soldiers. You cannot easily leave the fort and go. If you're imprisoned there, you cannot leave so easily, isn't it? But if you surrender to the king may give the instruction to the guard that please let him go.
Go.
So like that, because Krishna is ultimately the supreme. Krishna already said that all the material and spiritual worlds are coming from him. So Krishna can instruct, and then the person can leave the fort. So with this is Durga Devi. See here in we are going to see some quotes from the Brahma Samhita about Durga, about her position and her what is it that she does. But before we can read from the Brahma Samhita, let us know a little bit about the Brahma Samhita. So this is given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila. In the temple of Adi Keshava, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu discussed spiritual matters among highly advanced devotees. While there, he found a chapter of the Brahma Samhita. Does anybody know where is this Adi Keshava temple? Very, very famous temple. Adi Keshava Perumal temple.
Is it somewhere in South India?
Yes, in South India. Which part of South India?
Is it in Kerala?
Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram.
Kanchipuram?
Is it in Kerala?
No.
It's
Close.
somewhere in South Tamil Nadu. It is somewhere.
Tamil Nadu. Yes, it's actually on the Tamil Nadu. It's in Tamil Nadu and close to the Kerala border. This temple is there. Very, very famous temple. The deity is in a sleeping position, and you have to see the deity through 3 doors. There is also one more very famous deity in South India, in Kerala, also where the deity is reclining on another Shesha, and you have to see the deity through 3 doors.
3 doors.
Which other temple is that?
Sri
That is
Padmanabhapuram
Ananta
temple.
Padmanabha Swami.
Ananta Padmanabha Swami. Yes, very nice. So if you see this Ananta Padmanabha Swami temple and this Adi Keshava temple, they are very, very similar in their architecture, and also the deity is very, very similar. And this deity of Adi Keshava is lying in such a position that he is looking towards the deity of Ananta Padmanabha Swami. And a very interesting story is that this deity of Adi Keshava was, this temple actually was destroyed by a Nawab at that time. And out of animosity, he had kept this deity, not the huge deity, but another small deity, which is the Utsav deity. You know, for when they take the deity out for Utsav in the temple, then they have an Utsav deity, a smaller deity. So he had kept this Utsav deity amongst all kinds of other rubbish items, the Nawab. But every time he put the deity, this Utsav deity would come up and lay on top of all that pile of rubbish. And every time he would put the deity down and put other rubbish items on top, again the deity would come up and sit on top. So then what the Nawab did was, he tied the deity down. He chained the deity by drilling 2 holes on the pedestal of the deity, and he chained the deity. After that, the Nawab's wife fell very sick and she was not able to tolerate the pain that she was going through. And then the deity appeared in the dream of the temple priest. And he said that, please tell the king that if he restores the deity back to the temple, then the wife will be cured of her disease. And then the priest was able to convince the Nawab. He returned the deity. And then the deity was restored back to the temple. And the queen was cured of her disease. So see how the deity reciprocates. Deity is not just stone or wood or metal. The deity also reciprocates. Even now, I was reading on the internet that they do a puja there. Because then the king, he donated some paraphernalia for the Lord, and he instituted, he sponsored an annual puja for that deity. And even today, for 21-day period, that puja is done. And that has I have forgotten that term. 1 second, let me see. It is called Tiru Allah Puja. It's called Tiru Allah Puja. That is done for 21 days annually over there. So because the king then became very favorable and he was sponsoring that puja. Even to this day, that puja is done with the Utsav Murti. Okay. Coming back to our class.
Sagar.
Okay, so here it was in this temple of Adikeshava Perumal temple that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found this particular chapter of the Brahma Samhita. Actually, Brahma Samhita has 100 chapters and he happened to find the 5th chapter in that temple. So then what happened? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was greatly happy to find a chapter of the scripture and symptoms of ecstatic transformation, trembling, tears, perspiration, trance and jubilation were manifest in his body. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so very happy to find that particular chapter of the Brahma Samhita. There is no scripture equal to the Brahma Samhita as far as the final spiritual conclusion is concerned. Indeed, that scripture is the supreme revelation of the glories of Lord Govinda, for it reveals the topmost knowledge about him. Since all conclusions are briefly presented in the Brahma Samhita, it is essential among all the Vaishnava literatures. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu copied the Brahma Samhita and then with great pleasure, he went to a place known as Ananta Padmanabh. So after Lord Chaitanya, this was during Lord Chaitanya's tour. If you go to your Veda base and go to your Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela chapter 9, you can see how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has visited all these different holy places. So after he visited the Adikeshava temple and he found the Brahma Samhita, he copied it out. Then he went on to visit the Ananta Padmanabh temple. So much about the Brahma Samhita. So here in this Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is explaining the position of Durga Devi. So he says lowest of all is located Devi Dham, mundane world. So this material world is called as Devi Dham because Goddess Durga is the fortress of this material world. So therefore it is called as Devi Dham. Next above it is Mahesh Dham. Now who is Mahesh?
Shiva.
Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva is between the material and the spiritual worlds. Above the material world is the abode of Lord Shiva. So that abode is between the material and the spiritual worlds. And above them all is located Krishna's own realm named Goloka. So above Mahesh Dham is Krishna's realm called Goloka. Then Lord Brahma says, I adore the primeval Purusha Govinda, who has allotted their respective authorities to the rulers of those graded realms. So Krishna has allotted different authorities, different devatas for different functions. The eternal potency of Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga. So this external potency, so Durga, see actually there are two Maya Devis. One is Mahamaya and one is Yoga Maya. This Durga Devi here is Mahamaya. She is in charge of the material nature and she is actually an expansion of Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya is in the spiritual world. And Yoga Maya's function is to take the living entities closer to Krishna. Because what Yoga Maya does is she makes you forget that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So when you forget that Krishna is a supreme personality of God, for example, all the residents of Vrindavan or Mother Yashoda, they are all under the influence of Yoga Maya. Now, why does Yashoda have this very intimate relationship with Krishna? Why? How is it possible that she's able to chase Krishna with that stick and she's able to punish Krishna and Krishna is crying and she's thinking that Krishna is my Lala, Krishna is my son? Is because she's under the influence of Yoga Maya who makes Yashoda forget that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. If Yashoda was to remember that this Krishna, my son Krishna, is actually the supreme personality of Godhead, she will not be able to relish those sweet pastimes, sweet leelas with Krishna. Even Krishna will not be able to enjoy those pastimes because there will be always that reverential element, no, the element of respect, that formality will be there in the relationship. So even the residents of Vrindavan, the Gopas, somebody is riding on Krishna's back. Krishna is eating from the tiffin box of his friends. Can we do that? Can we eat something and give Krishna to eat? We cannot do that, right? Because we are not on that level. But Krishna, he's eating from the tiffin box of his friends. Somebody's riding on Krishna's back. Krishna is riding on somebody's back. So all this intimacy is there because Yoga Maya makes them forget that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So her job, Yoga Maya's service is to take people closer to Krishna by making them forget that Krishna is God. But Mahamaya tempts us with so many things, and she takes the living entities away from Krishna. So Durga Devi, who's functioning in the material world, she brings in obstacles and hindrances and temptations so that we can forget Krishna and we can move away from Krishna. So this Durga is actually Mahamaya. The creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore primeval Purusha Govinda in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. So Durga is conducting herself under the will of Govinda. Who is saying this? Who is saying this?
Was it Kavira?
Lord Brahma.
Lord Brahma, yes, because we are reading from the Brahma Samhita, no? So these are Lord Brahma's quotes. So Lord Brahma is saying that Durga Devi conducts herself in accordance with the will of Govinda. Govinda is none other but who's Govinda?
Krishna himself.
Isn't it? This Brahma Samhita is also available on your Veda base. If you would like to read, it's there in your Veda base. This 5th chapter begins with what line? Anybody knows? What are the opening lines of the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita? Ishvara, Parama, Krishna. These are the opening lines. Ishvara, Parama, Krishna. Then Satchitananda Vigraha. So Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Ishvara, Parama, Krishna. Satchitananda Vigraha. He is eternal. He is Satchit Ananda. He is eternal, full of bliss and full of knowledge. Anadir, Adir, Govinda. He has no other origin but himself. Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. So the opening lines of Brahma Samhita, if you see on your Veda base, is this. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchitananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. And these verses 5.43, 5.44, if you see in the Brahma Samhita, the middle section of the Brahma Samhita, every verse ends with Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Brahma is praying like that. Every verse, actually, to be more precise, from verse number 29 to verse number 55 in the Brahma Samhita, Brahma ends the shlokas by saying Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam, Lord Govinda, Adi Purusham. He is the original Purusha. That means everything else is coming from him. Govindam Adi Purusham Tam Aham Bhajami. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tam Aham Bhajami. Lord Brahma is praying like that. So very nice. This Brahma Samhita was actually translated by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. See here, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in the purport, the aforesaid presiding deity of Devi Dham is being described. The world in which Brahma takes his stand and hymns the Lord of Goloka is Devi Dham, consisting of the 14 worlds. So we know there are 14 planetary systems. And Durga is its presiding deity. Durga is possessed of Durga, which means a prison house. When Jivas, begotten of the marginal potency, Tathastha Shakti, forget the service of Krishna, they are confined in the mundane prison house, the citadel of Durga. So what do we mean by marginal potency or Tathastha Shakti? We saw previously that we belong to Krishna's superior energy. But although we belong to Krishna's superior energy, we can come under the dominance of material nature. So we belong to the marginal potency. Because we can come under the dominance of material nature, we are Tathastha Shakti or marginal potency. The wheel of karma is the instrument of punishment at this place. So in this material world, the wheel of karma is the instrument of punishment. The work of purifying these penalized jivas is the duty devolved upon Durga. So Durga's service is to purify those jivas who have been misbehaving. She is incessantly engaged in discharging the same by the will of Govinda. When luckily the forgetfulness of Govinda on the part of imprisoned jivas is remarked by them by coming in contact with a self-realized soul. So when we come in contact with a devotee, then their natural aptitude for the loving service of Krishna is aroused. Durga herself then becomes the agency of their deliverance by the will of Govinda. So wed our natural aptitude for loving service. So that's why Srila Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness is not a natural imposition on the mind. It's not an artificial imposition on the mind. It is our natural state. So that natural state is aroused by coming in contact with devotees. So then what happens? Then Durga herself, she becomes the agency for our deliverance by the will of Govinda. So it behooves everyone to obtain the guileless grace of Durga, the mistress of this prison house, by propitiating her with the selfless service of Krishna. Okay, Harman, you have raised your hand.
Yes, I had a question. So you had said that we are part and parcel of the superior energy, correct?
Yes.
But at the same time, we can be driven by the inferior energy. Am I getting that clear? Or?
Yes, it's correct. We belong to Krishna's superior energy, but because we can come under the influence of the material nature, which is the inferior energy, therefore we are neither completely superior nor completely inferior. We are marginal. You know, a margin is something in between.
Yeah.
So see, Krishna previously he said that we belong to a superior nature. Yes, but if one has to be more specific, because we are coming under the influence of material nature, therefore we belong to Krishna's superior marginal energy or Tathastha Shakti. Okay.
So if another question that came to me, so if we surrender to Krishna, that that marginal energy wouldn't convert into just the superior energy.
No, the thing is, we will always be Tathastha Shakti because we will always have our free will. That free will is always going to be there. And we can anytime always use our free will and again come under the influence of material nature.
Okay. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Welcome, Hare Krishna.
So Krishna, sorry, a question. So Krishna has both this superior quality and inferior quality.
Yes.
Okay. With our freeness, we are selecting the inferior. Okay.
Exactly. We choose because Krishna doesn't force. Okay. Why? Because if Krishna is going to force, he can make the whole world Krishna conscious and get us back in spiritual world just like that, isn't it? In one flash. But Krishna doesn't force us. We have to desire it. Otherwise, we will become robots. Krishna doesn't want robots, right? The relationship is based on love. If I put a gun on somebody's head and say that you love me, the person may say that he loves me, but does he really love me? No, because it's under fear. He's saying, isn't it? So therefore, this is love is something that is voluntary. We have to desire it. So that's therefore we always have that free will. We always have that free will, whether we are in the material world or in the spiritual world.
Internal feelings.
Yes, we have to desire it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So does that mean even we are liberated, we have a free will, we can fall down?
Oh, yes. When we are liberated, also, we have the free will. But of course, Krishna promises in the Bhagavad Gita that once we go back to the spiritual world, we will not come down again. But that's not because we don't have our free will anymore. That's because we have learned our lesson. The free will is there. Okay, so see this, as we discussed, this is Devi Dham. Then this is Mahesh Dham. Are you able to see when I zoom it?
Yes.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, so see, this is the universe with, there are many universes, many bubbles that are coming from the body of Mahavishnu. Here. So this is one universe with the 14 planetary systems, and you can see Durga Devi here. The topmost planet among the 14 planetary systems is Lord Brahma. And then here you can see Kailasha, which is Mahesh Dham. He's in between. And then here you can see Vaikuntha Loka. These are the Vaikuntha planets, where the Lord is residing in the four-handed Narayan form. And then here we have Goloka. Oh my God, what did I do now? One. Okay, so here you can see Durga Devi is taking instructions from the Lord as to what is her function. She has 10 hands. This picture doesn't show her 10 hands, but the Brahma Samhita describes how she has 10 hands. And Krishna is saying this divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is difficult to overcome. But those who are surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond. So this person here he's in the ocean. And even an expert swimmer cannot cross that ocean, right? Huge ocean is there, very rough waves. So if he surrenders, if he just calls out to the Lord. When we chant the holy name, we are calling out to the Lord. It's like the crying of a child for the mother. So when the child is crying, the mother will drop whatever she's doing and she will go to see what the child is doing. So when we cry out to the Lord, when we call out to the Lord, when we reach out to the Lord, when we surrender to the Lord, then He is here to take us out of this ocean. Very, very easy, isn't it? Isn't this very easy? Rather than being in this ocean, life after life after life after life. How many more millions of lifetimes are we going to surrender to Maya? At some point, we need to take a decision that no more surrender to Maya. I want to surrender to Krishna.
But isn't so that it's very rare? So surrender soul that really surrenders is rarest to the rarest.
Yes, it's the rarest of the rarest. That's exactly what Krishna is going to say in this next section. Okay, let's see now section 4. Krishna is going to talk about those 4 categories of people who do not surrender to him, and then 4 categories of people who surrender to him. And then he says, amongst those who surrender to him, who is the best? So let's see this section now.
न माम् दुष्कृतिनो मूढाः प्रपद्यन्ते नराधमाः माययापहृतज्ञाना आसुरम् भावमाश्रिताः.
Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me, Hare Krishna.
So here Krishna is talking about 4 miscreants or dushkritinaha. Dushkritinaha who do not surrender to Krishna. Okay, Sandra, you have your hand raised.
Sairam, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
I
Krishna.
have a question about surrender. It is a grace of Krishna, the fact that we can surrender to Him.
Is it the grace of Krishna that we
can surrender to Him?
Yes, it is only by the grace of Krishna that we can surrender to him. So how to invoke that grace is by desiring it. See, the sun is there shining for everyone. So Krishna's grace is always there for everyone. The sun is shining for everyone. But if I decide to lock myself in the room,
yeah.
So then it is my fault, right? I need to desire to go and take some fresh sunlight, some fresh air. So I have to go out of my dark room. So like that, the living entity has to desire that, yes, I want to take the grace of Krishna. So that desire, how do we express that desire? By chanting the holy name. Actually, there are 9 items of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam are the first 2, the most important. Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. So when we chant, we also hear.
Yes, so even if we have that desire, even if we have that sincere desire, but devotion doesn't arrive.
It will come. It will come.
Of the time, no. Many of the times we chant like automatically, no, like mechanically.
Yes.
So living in a devotional life is not our decision. It's really a blessing, no?
Yeah, so that's why Krishna says, you do your best.
Okay.
Because see, Krishna, there is a verse in chapter 9 where Krishna says, I carry what you lack and preserve what you have. So when we are lacking devotion, but we are trying our best, right? It's not that it's not that one is, now we are all materially conditioned, right? We are all raised in a certain way. We have our material conditionings that are coming from the previous lifetime. So there are so many factors that we are going to that one needs to consider. Now, keeping all that on one side, if we sincerely try, then what we are doing is we are cleaning the mirror of the heart. Just like you have a mirror and dust has accumulated. Now, how many years the mirror has not been cleaned, depending on that is the accumulation of dust on the mirror. So we have crossed through so many millions of lifetimes. There is so much of impurity in the heart. What we do is when we start chanting, even though in the beginning it is mechanical, we may not like it, it is boring, but still we do it because we have to do it. Now, let's say one is doing that, there is no love, there is no emotion, but one is just doing it mechanically, as you said. But we are starting to clean the dust from that mirror. Now, as we go on chanting, we are cleaning that mirror more and more and more. And now the day will come when the heart is completely purified and we are chanting out of love for the Lord. Now that the mirror is completely clean, we can actually see our image very, very clearly, right? So then we realize what is our constitutional position, and then that love. So it will come with time. It's not
And
a
so,
process that is done overnight.
and so, Mataji, it could happen as well that you arrive to that level of supreme love for Krishna and you are in his presence most of the time. And then suddenly the mirror get dusty again, or maybe you fall, or maybe even if you continue with your practice, but nothing is happening, and the practice became mechanical again. Is that kind of a state is supposed to happen as well? That kind of lost.
Yes, the danger of fall down also is always there because we always have our free will again. So therefore, it's a constant work. We are constantly working on it. It's a lifetime process. This is a process for the entire lifetime. So what can we do to prevent a fall down? If we want to ensure that we do not fall down, we have to ensure that we are in the association of devotees. That is of utmost importance. If we are in the association of devotees, then the devotee association that will shield us from fall down. But if we are going to associate with materialistic people, then we are also going to become materialistic. So there are so many other things that we can do that will favor our spiritual life. And see, there are two rules. Whatever is favorable for your Krishna consciousness, you accept. Whatever is unfavorable for your Krishna consciousness, you reject. That's all. If we can just keep these two things in mind, anything that comes across, we ask ourselves the question, is this good for my Krishna consciousness? Yes, then go ahead and do it. Is this not favorable for my Krishna consciousness? So just reject it. So if we can keep this in mind, then we can prevent a fall down.
Okay. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, so the four people who never surrender to Krishna, those who are grossly foolish, Krishna says, mudhas, right? Mudhas. Then who are lowest among mankind, the Naradhamas, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, Mayaya Paharta. Then those who are atheistic or Mayaya Paharta Jnana is knowledge is stolen by illusion, I'm sorry, and Asuras are the demons, the atheistic nature of the demons. So these four people, Krishna says, they never surrender to me. Now let us analyze here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 personalities. Which of these four is a mudha, foolish? There's one with a sack, one who's committing a murder. There is a scientist here, and there is a dictator here. So who is mudha amongst these?
The dictator.
Foolish. Huh?
The dictator.
The dictator. Why?
Because a dictator in this case, like I'm gonna use an example, like in the Romans time, in ancient Rome, the Julius Caesar was very strict, and Julius Caesar was grossly foolish, and those who are grossly foolish are people who do not surrender unto Krishna, but also dictators as well.
Okay. So what we'll do is we will read the description of these 4 categories of people and then we'll come back to the picture and analyze. Okay. So let's read about the mudas. So mudas are grossly foolish, working like hard-working asses or beasts of burden. So the mudas are those people who are attached to the fruits. They are fruitive workers who want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves and do not want to part with them for the supreme. So they work hard day in and day night and they want to enjoy the fruits of their labor themselves. Okay. Then now the muda does not know for whom he should work. So he does not know for whom the person should work. He is just working like an ass. Just like an ass works hard for his master, but does not know for whom he works so hard. Now, in India, you have the washermen. What they do is they collect the dirty clothes for the people. They load them on the back of the ass, and then they take the ass with that heavy burden of clothes to the river, and then the clothes are washed, and then they are again loaded back onto the donkey's back, and they are brought back. So this ass is working hard day in and day night. And what does the owner do? He just gives the ass some grass to eat. So this ass is working hard day in and day night, and he's getting some grass in return. He does not realize that he can get that grass anywhere. He does not have to depend on that owner to eat that grass. He can get that grass anywhere and he can live, right? So asses are those people who are working hard like the asses or the donkeys. Level of happiness for them, destructible material gains are life's all in all. So all that they want is material gains, which are going to be destroyed anyway. Although they enjoy a very small fraction of the fruits of their labor. So what actually, see, they work hard day in and day night to make money, but eventually they can enjoy only a very small bit of their labor, because ultimately what happens, they die and then the money is left to be enjoyed by their children or other people, friends or family, whoever. Okay. So Mudas work hard, but sleepless nights. They have no time for food. He suffers from ulcers, indigestion, etc. Similarly, an ass is satisfied by filling his stomach by a bundle of grass, sleeping for a while under the fear of being beaten, and satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. So the asses, what does this mean? Satisfying his sex appetite at the risk of being repeatedly kicked by the opposite party. When the male donkey approaches a female donkey for union, then the male donkey is actually kicked by the female donkey in the face, right in the face. So this is what the sentence means. Then there is no time to hear for immortality of the soul. So these mudas, these grossly foolish, hard-working asses, they have no time to hear about spirituality, because they just want to work hard, collect money, collect money, collect money. They don't sleep well, then they lose their health, and eventually they die without any realizations. And then the money is left to be enjoyed by others who have not even worked hard for that money. So these are the mudas. Now tell me, who's a muda in this picture?
He's carrying the load on his back.
Yes, this person here is a muda, working hard, isn't it? Now let us see Naradhama. So this is a choice that we need to make. Do we want to become donkeys like this, or we want to become devotees like this? This is a choice that we have to make. Then Naradhamas, lowest of mankind. Nara means human being and Adhama means lowest. So Naradhamas are the lowest of mankind. Now, who are these Naradhamas? Naradhamas are those people who are socially and politically developed, but they have no religious principles. So they are uncivilized. The civilized people, they have regulated principles of socially, politically, and religiously. So they are civilized. But Naradhamas are uncivilized because they may be socially and politically developed, but they have no religious principles. See, they are the people who lose the chance of using this body for realizing God. Now, baby in the mother's womb, promises to worship him after taking birth, but he forgets as soon as he gets out and falls into Maya. So when we were in the wombs of our mothers, all of us have promised the Lord that I will worship you. I will behave, I will worship you. But as soon as we take birth, we forget and we fall into Maya. If you go to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, chapter number 31, there is actually a very graphic description of the child in the womb. How the child in the womb suffers, is getting bitten by so many worms. The skin is burnt. The skin is actually not formed. So every time the mother eats something very spicy or something very acidic, then the whole body of the child starts to burn. So like that, and the baby is in a very uncomfortable position, right? It's in a small place, it's in a dark place. The only thing that the child can do is hear. So this particular chapter gives a very graphic description of the child in the womb, and in that helpless condition, the child in the womb, he's remembering his past lifetimes, and he's promising that in this lifetime, my Lord, I will worship you. But then as soon as we come out, then again we fall into Maya. So a Naradhama is someone who loses that chance of reviving the lost relationship with the Lord. 99.9% of the population is Naradhama because they lack the Varnashram system and they don't do the samskaras. We have discussed how there are so many samskaras, no? Starting with Garbhadhana samskara, which is done before the child is conceived, and then the Antim samskara or the last final rites. So because the samskaras are not done by most of the population and because nobody is following the Varnashram, almost no one is following the Varnashram system, therefore most of the human population is Naradhama. So is there any hope for the Naradhamas? Yes, the mercy of the devotees. So when we come in touch with the devotee of the Lord, then we can reverse the situation. Recommendation of Lord Chaitanya for Naradhamas, they can also be delivered by submissive hearing process. Just hearing submissively from a bona fide authority, from a superior authority. That then also the Naradhamas can be delivered, but usually they neglect this. The Naradhamas do not want to hear about spirituality. If you tell them, come, I will come and join the Bhagavad Gita class, they say, I'm not interested, right? So they are usually not interested in the hearing process. Unfortunate condition of Naradhamas, they refuse to give oral reception to the messages of Godhead, and thus Naradhamas neglect the prime duty of the human being. So one example of
99.9% is written there. You see 99.9%, is that written in the Shastra?
That's what Prabhupada writes in the purport.
Okay.
Okay, now one example of Naradhama is Jagai and Madhai. This story is there in the Chaitanya Leela. Jagai and Madhai were two drunkards, and they were indulging themselves in all kinds of sinful life. They were stealing, they were robbing, they were killing, and they were insulting people. They were engaged in all kinds of sinful activities. And Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur, they tried to preach to them, but they were not interested in hearing them preach. And Madhai one day struck Lord Nityananda with a broken clay pot. And Lord Nityananda started to bleed. If you see this picture closely here, this is Lord Nityananda in blue. His forehead, he is bleeding. Because Madhai had, this is Madhai. Madhai had struck Lord Nityananda with the clay pot. As soon as Lord Chaitanya, in the golden dhoti, as soon as Lord Chaitanya came to know that Lord Nityananda has been struck, he reached that place and he invoked his Sudarshan Chakra to kill Madhai. You can see that Lord Chaitanya is invoking his Sudarshan Chakra. Actually, this incarnation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not meant to raise any weapons. He did not use any weapons. But he was so furious when Lord Nityananda was struck because the devotees are very, very dear to the Lord. He immediately invoked his Sudarshan Chakra. He does not care that in this avatar, in this incarnation, he's not supposed to use any weapons, right? But Lord Nityananda tells him that please forgive him. Because the devotee of the Lord is more merciful than the Lord himself. So Lord Nityananda is pleading with Lord Chaitanya. You can see Lord Nityananda pleading. He's saying that please forgive him. Do not kill him. And then Madhai surrenders. Jagai and Madhai, actually they are two brothers. They both surrender to Lord Chaitanya. And after that, Lord Chaitanya forgives them and then he he's able to make them into stalwart devotees. So see, then Jagai and Madai become stalwart devotees, and then they actually built a bathing ghat for all the devotees, so that when they go to bathe in the Ganges, they have a ghat over there where they can bathe. So they had built that ghat over there. And if you go to Sri Mayapur Dham, you can actually go and visit this place, Jagai and Madai Samadhi, Madai Tala in Katwa. So you can see how even these Naradhamas, Jagai and Madai, they were able to become devotees because of the mercy of the Lord and because of the mercy of the devotee of the Lord. So the hope for Naradhamas is devotee association. Then the third category is Maya Paharta Jnana. Okay, let's go back to the photo. Who was Naradhama here? Engaging in all kinds of sinful activities.
Military.
The
the
person
black-
who was killing that person.
The one who's committing this murder, right? Sinful activity. Okay, now let's come to the third category. Knowledge stolen by illusory energy. So these people, they are usually very learned, philosophers, literary poets, but they are misguided and they disobey the Lord. So they are actually scholars, but they are mundane scholars, scholars of materialistic education. So they are materially qualified, materially learned, but they do not want to accept the Lord. They think that God is an ordinary human being. They do not know that the blessed form of human life is designed after the eternal and transcendental feature of the Supreme Lord. So Maya Paharta Jnana, they are educated, they are materially educated, but they do not accept. I'm sorry, where did that thing go? So who here is materially educated, but their knowledge
The
is stolen
scientist.
from Maya?
Scientist.
Yes, the
The
scientist.
scientist.
Yes, good.
And I know the fourth one.
And the fourth one is the Asuram Bhavam Ashritaha, envious towards God or atheistic demons. What are their arguments? Supreme Lord can never descend in the material world. He is subordinate to impersonal features, present illicit incarnations from factory of their brain. So they say that the Lord cannot come to the material world. Now, why the Lord cannot come to the material world? They cannot give any proper reason. They just say, no, God cannot come. God is always distant. God is always in his abode. God cannot come to the material world. And he is subordinate to impersonal features. So which means that they think that the Lord is coming from the Brahman effulgence. So there are these people who say that Krishna, Rama, and all these incarnations are coming from the Brahman effulgence. So they are subordinate to impersonal features, is what they say. And they also present illicit incarnations from factory of their brain. So to present somebody is to present an ordinary human being as God. Or they may say that I am God. So this is the fourth category, the envious, those who are envious towards God, the atheistic demons. Okay, so these are the four categories of people who never surrender to Krishna. There is a quote by Yamunacharya. He is an Acharya, a Vaishnava Acharya, and he says, "Oh my Lord, you are unknowable to persons involved with atheistic principles. Despite your uncommon qualities, features, and activities, despite your personalities being confirmed by all the revealed scriptures in the quality of goodness, and despite your being acknowledged by the famous authorities renowned for their depth of knowledge in the transcendental science and situated in the godly quality." So in spite of all this information, in spite of Shastras saying it, in spite of great authorities acknowledging the Lord, still these people will not acknowledge the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the fourth category. We'll stop here. In the next class, we will continue and we will see who are the four categories of people who do surrender to Krishna. So that is for next time if Krishna so sanctions. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Thank you, Mataji. Koti Koti Dandvat Pranam. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai 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 Pataka Maharaj ki jai. Jai Krishna Mataji ki jai.
Thank you, Mataji. Vrinda
Thank
Patika
you.
Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Okay, so do we have any questions? No? Aradhya, are you joining us for the first time?
Yes.
Where are you joining us from, Aradhya? Where are you, Aradhya?
Yeah?
Where are you located?
Where do you live?
We can't hear you. Okay. Are you in the group, WhatsApp group? Okay. All right. Okay, then. See you all next week if Krishna so sanctions. Until then, have a nice week in Krishna consciousness. Vancha kalpataruvhyascha kripa sindhu vevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
जय श्री राम माता जी की जय, जय जय पताका महाराज की जय। थैंक यू माता जी, कोटि कोटि दंडवत प्रणाम। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna Sanam. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Senama. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.